Today we're going to be talking about 5 things you need to do or prep before you go to training. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Chad with BeGoneForGood. We do videos all about adventure motorcycling, from the bikes we ride, the trips we take, tips, tricks, tutorials, everything under the sun when it comes to adventure motorcycling. You'll find it on this channel. If you're interested in that sort of thing, definitely hit subscribe down below. Hit that bell so you get notifications anytime we upload a new video. And if you have any questions, down below in the comments is where you get those answered. Now, I just got back from a Brett Tax training cycle, and I saw a lot of things about how people prepared for their training, the things that they were sort of struggling with at training, and there are things you can do to prep for training to get the absolute most out of your 2, 3, 5 days of training and make sure that it's the best experience you can possibly have. Number 1, gear. Now, this deals with a lot of different things. Make sure you have the right tires on your bike. If you're going to be doing an off-road class, make sure that you have tires that are capable of off-road. If you're going to be doing a street class, make sure that you've got street tires that are ready to go on your bike for the type of training that you're going to be doing. Make sure that they're not bald, make sure that they're aired up properly, make sure that you have the right gear on your bike and for your bike for whatever type of riding that you're going to be doing. This also extends out to some of the easier stuff. If you're going to be outside for 3 or 4 days at a time, make sure you've got sunscreen, make sure you've got rain gear, make sure you've got the right warm weather gear or vented stuff to be able to ride in heat. Whatever the weather is where you're going, make sure that you've brought along the type of gear that's going to be necessary to do the type of riding you're going to be doing. Expect to be outside for 2, 3, 5 days at a time, and whatever gear you're going to need for that, make sure it's with you on the bike. Also, it probably isn't a bad idea to have spares. I know that we ran into some pretty heavy rains, and everybody getting out in the afternoon when it wasn't raining, putting on wet leather gloves, it was really a pain. So make sure you've got a second set of gloves, something dry. You're gonna probably want an extra jersey or extra gear for underneath to make sure that if you are wet, you can get dry, or if you are dry, you can get dirty, vice versa. All of those things, make sure you've got that stuff available for you so that you're not precluded from riding because you don't have the gear available to make sure that you can do the best job. Number 2, make sure you're coming to these rides with a little bit of humility and a lot of curiosity. Now, what I mean on this is that we had a lot of folks that came up there that had their own way of riding, and when Brett, the professional, started talking to him about, like, hey, you want to change this, you want to do this, they're like, oh, this is the way that I ride. That's not the answer that you want to give for training that you are paying for. You're paying to have a professional train you and do things differently than the way you've done them before. Now, this doesn't mean you have to fully adopt and acknowledge everything about what their training is the absolute only way to do things, right? There's plenty of different ways to do things. But when you're being trained, you want to accept that training, try it on, see what works, see what doesn't. Don't just dismiss it out of hand because it's not the way you do things or it's not the way you're comfortable with. Be okay being uncomfortable. Maybe you're the greatest rider that's ever been out there. Brett Tax takes classes. Take classes the way that Brett does. He goes out, he tries the things that the trainers are telling him. He questions when he says, like, well, this is the way that I've done it. Like, why is your way better? Like, what is that difference? What am I gaining from going your route? And then try it on, see what works, see how it helps your riding, and if there's anything that you can incorporate from that training to make your riding better once you get home. That's the goal. This is just more tools in your tool belt. Make sure that you're going with the amount of curiosity necessary to investigate new things and to be uncomfortable in the type of riding that you're doing. 3, slow moves. Start doing slow moves at home before you go. I just shot a video on the benefits here. The more you can get comfortable with your bike slowly, the better you'll do in training of all kinds. And this is street training, this is off-road training, this is fast moving, adventure riding. Everything that you do on the bike will be helped by you getting more comfortable moving slowly on the bike, being able to do figure eights and tight turns, going both directions. The better you can be on your bike in those very simple circumstances, the better you will be able to ramp up training of any kind. So get comfortable doing slow moves. Number 4, and this is a tough one because this one probably takes a little bit of time, physical fitness. Make sure that you are in the best shape you can be. Again, if you're going to be spending 8 to 10 hours a day outside on your feet, working with a heavy bike, moving things around, doing things you're not used to, make sure that your legs and your back and your arms and your heart and your lungs can handle a lot of it. The worst thing that you're gonna have is getting to 10 o'clock on a hot day and having to quit and not be able to do any training for the next 4 to 6 hours, or maybe even for the rest of that time because you injured yourself, you can't cut it, anything that is going to keep you from that training in a complete capacity. The more fit you can be going in, the better you're going to be able to handle everything that's coming at you during the course of those days. This is a physical event. As much as riding a bike is just twisting the throttle and the bike takes care of a lot of the work, you are going to be working a lot harder than what you're typically used to during the course of this training. So get used to it. Even if it's as simple as just climbing up and down hills in motorcycle boots, I can tell you that I consider myself relatively fit, and doing that in what amounts to ski boots up and down these hills was brutal, especially on a 90-degree day. It was very, very taxing. Get used to having that level of difficulty in your day and be okay with it. Lastly, and this is something that I would suggest you do at training, you can do it a little bit before, especially if you have any questions or things you specifically want to work on, but take notes. Make sure that you have something there that you can write down. I know that the old pen and paper works great. It's a little bit difficult if it's raining. It's a little bit difficult on the trail, but we all have our phones with us. There's a way to keep notes on there. There's also a way to keep vocal notes, right? You can just press the record button and say, hey, I learned this. We went over this. These are the things that I taught. These are the things I worked on. Keep those notes. When you're fresh, right in training, it feels like you'll remember this forever. You'll get home on Monday morning and it'll all be gone, or 70% of it will be gone. It just fades so quickly. Make sure that you're taking notes in the moment, exactly what the instructor says. If they're actually sitting you down and talking to you for a little bit, take notes during that time before you put on your helmet and gloves so that you know what the training is going to be. You've got a syllabus written out, ready to go for everything that you're going to be covering. That is very, very important when you get home and want to know the things that you still should be working on, the things that you had difficulty with, the things you really liked, the things you didn't like. All of that stuff is going to be really key to making sure you're getting the absolute most out of the training that you're taking. This is something that is paramount. I would argue this is right up there with prepping your gear properly for being able to get the most out of training. You can do a phenomenal 36 hours or 72 hours of training, but if on Monday and Tuesday of that following week, it's all out of your brain and you can't think about it anymore or don't know what it was, it's all but useless to you. So make sure that you're taking really tight, really complete notes of everything that's going on over your weekend so that you can carry that into your real life when you get back home. One last one, this is a little bonus, is look up training from this individual. I'm guessing most people that are doing training out there have some sort of social media presence or website presence. Look up the training that they've done beforehand. See if you can get an idea of what you're going to be looking at as far as a syllabus, as far as what other people have done, what they liked, what they succeeded in, what they struggled with, any sort of tips and tricks from previous students. You can find a lot of stuff on the forums. If you go to the ADV forums or the Facebook forums, you'll find all sorts of advice on how to go into training and things to be prepared for from the specific trainer. Maybe it's gonna be a lot difficult than you expect. Maybe it's gonna be a lot easier and you're gonna have to kind of graduate up pretty quickly. All of that stuff should be available to you from previous cycles of this training, and it's good to have that knowledge intact and ready to go before you start that training time. All right, that's everything I have for the 5 things to concentrate on before and during your training cycle to get the most out of your training. These are high dollar events that you are a part of. Make sure that you can capitalize on every dollar of that by being prepared and being able to take in as much as possible while you're at this training cycle and in the weeks beyond that training cycle. That's gonna be the best way to get the bang for your buck. If you have any questions, anything else that you think is a good idea that maybe I missed, leave that down in the comments. I know that a lot of the viewers read those, so if you've got suggestions, leave them down there and other people will let you know what they think of those as well. Again, if you like this type of content all about ADV motorcycling, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you get notifications as we release new videos. And remember, the adventure starts with you, up here and in here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.